Hey Taj, appreciate you having me.
Marcus, what's up, my man?
Hey man, sorry about the technical difficulties earlier. I was on the chat with StreamYard, so I wasn't able to get my camera working, but I got my audio working. So
Hey, don't worry, man. We got the little avatar there. We can see you. I can see your face. That's all that matters, and we can hear you. That's the most important thing, man. So it's all good. Don't even worry about it. I just want to take it back to, as I mentioned in the bio when I was introducing you. Can you talk about because one of the things, and you and I discussed this when we first talked, it was you had already been experiencing or suffering from mental illness for about a decade before you were actually diagnosed. Is that right?
yes, sir. Yep.
Okay, and then so what led you to actually seeking out help? Because I know a lot of including me, man. I probably not only after my career but while I was in college, just because of some of the things I was going through, I for sure was having some mental health issues, man. But I don't, you can call it pride or just ignorance. I hesitated to reach out or even try to get some help or just to talk to someone about it, including my family. I could have talked to my parents easily, but I didn't talk to anybody. I just bottled it up. But that's neither here nor there, man. I just want to hear about what your process was like when you realized something was up, and what is it that made you actually go seek out help?
Yeah, great question. So I began my first relationship September 2017. It wasn't the best for my mental health. I was with someone that really didn't care for it. So it was definitely toxic. And about a year later, in September 2018, we broke up and you know, some things were her fault. In relationships, it goes both ways. But, started to notice that the things that I was dealing with was definitely, affecting my relationship in some ways. And then the breakup happened. And I was, you know, transitioning out of sport. I was working an IT job, going through a first breakup. All my college friends were, who were a good support system for me. They were still in school getting their doctorates and their masters. So, um, all that stuff like happening at once for me, like I just couldn't deal with all that stuff myself. So I just had to seek help, man. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Right, yeah, for sure, man. I think it's interesting that the breakup or the relationship you were in at the time was kind of your mirror. I think that's an important thing for people to hear, that sometimes, if you're going through something, the people around you will kind of reflect that. Meaning, if your relationships aren't going the way, if you're in a situation, even if it's not a romantic relationship, but friendships or relationships with family, sometimes those relationships are suffering because you need to work on stuff within yourself,
Yeah.
right? So that's what I mean about people being the mirror. And then you started it a year after you were diagnosed, or you started Austin for Athletes a year after you were diagnosed, or a year after you graduated.
So I graduated in May of 2018. I
Okay.
was diagnosed September 2018, and I founded Alston for Athletes September 2019.
I got you. I'm sorry, man. I forgot to ask what you were actually diagnosed with. I think that's
Oh,
important for
oh
people
yeah,
to.
yeah. So I was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, anxiety, depression. It's basically an emotional dysregulation disorder. With coming with depression, anxiety, highs and lows, and things like that.
Right, right. And then, so what is it that actually, obviously you were able to kind of get some help and start working on things to help help you manage some of these things so that you can do what you need to do in daily life. What is it that had you jump out and start Austin for Athletes? Was there a moment where you were just like, I know a lot of people are going through this and I want to help out? Or what was that moment like where you were like, I'm actually going to do something about this to help others?
Yeah, it was just kind of stemming back to when I was originally diagnosed. I was in a dark place for several months. I had to sit with a lot of thoughts, feelings, emotions myself, and just had a lot of introspection on my life and my life's experiences. And, I was kind of going through like an early life crisis, I would say. And I knew that once things got better for me, essentially right around March of 2019, I knew I needed to re-identify myself. Like I know football isn't my purpose in life. I know IT is not my purpose in life. So, what is that purpose that I essentially have. And like I said, just sitting through all the introspection, my experiences with injuries, mental health challenges, being biracial, I firmly believe that I'm on, this earth to help provide, that better foundation of mental health for the next generation of student athletes.
That's huge, man. And Austin for Athletes is a 501c3. It's a nonprofit, correct?
Not yet. So we're applying for that. So
Okay.
given with the IRS, it's backed up right now. So we won't have our tax deductible um, till probably around the quarter 1 of next year. It's anywhere from like a 4 to 6 month process. So
Wow. See, even still, I didn't even know that you hadn't got certified yet. But even still, like we've been talking about this whole time, you're executing. I'm seeing you making a whole bunch of moves, which we'll get into. You're already establishing partnerships, already having impact without even officially having your 501c3 papers. So, I mean, hats off to you, man, because you're not waiting around like, oh, once I get approved, then I'll start helping people. You've been helping people since I've known you, and that's a major thing that I don't want to overlook, and I want to acknowledge you for, man.
I appreciate it, man. And I've kind of had I guess a backwards approach when starting my business where, just networking with so many people since the pandemic. A lot of people tend to get their status and then they scale, where I've already done the scaling and the organizing and the delegating. So now I'm just waiting for that status, and I don't have to do that when I get the status. I already have everything in line. So once I get that status, it's just full go at that point.
Man, see, there we go again. Stay ready so you don't got to get ready. Check you
Yes,
out, man.
sir.
Another thing that I talk about a lot, and this is why I wanted to have you on, aside from all the great work you're doing around mental health, not just the education, but actually forming those strategic alliances with different schools to be able to, get those resources, make those resources available. Um, I think that it's important for people to know if you're going into entrepreneurship, there's so many different ways you can do it, right? You don't have to be a solopreneur. You can build a team around you, just like Marcus has done. Even the nonprofit route, whether you're building a for-profit business or a nonprofit business, you have to have the mindset of an entrepreneur because you're going out and you're building something on your own, and
Yep.
you've actually done that effectively. I'm curious to know, like, because you could have done this as a for-profit business, and there are people who do similar things who do for-profit. What is it for you that made you go the nonprofit route?
Yeah, that's a great question, Taj. And just over this past year, since launching Alston for Athletes, I was always on the fence of just deciding, am I going to be a for-profit or am I going to be a nonprofit? And I was, back and forth for a very long time, and I just think that the type of work and the scope of work that we're ultimately trying to do, it's charitable work. We're trying to help people, and I think that really overpowers on like what I ultimately decide what the business should be, if that makes sense. Since we're trying to help people, I just thought it would be you know better for the organization to be a nonprofit.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And for anybody who either now or in the future is considering going the nonprofit route, if they want to build something as a nonprofit, I have some insight to it because I do some contract coaching for Athlete Soul, founded by Miriam Glass. It's also a nonprofit organization. So I have some insight into like the inner workings and what the actual structure is. Like you said, just having people in place that you can delegate to. But I'd like to hear from your experience, since you're the one, spearheading and actually building Austin for Athletes. What is what is some advice you could give to someone who is considering, doing something charitable, giving back to people, and going the nonprofit route?
Yeah, the biggest thing would be getting a team on board. For me, when I launched Austin for Athletes September last year, like my background's in technology. I was working in the IT industry for 2 years, um, and I was trying to do every single thing for the business: the marketing, the finance, the fundraising, the networking, the IT. So like I was wearing all hats of the business, and it was starting to really like burn me out. I was waking up 5 a.m. in the morning to do all like my posting, and I'm not getting done work until 10, 11 o'clock at night. Um, so really, sorry, Taj. What was I lost my train of thought. What was the original
Oh,
question?
I was asking you about what is the road been like to building a nonprofit, and you were saying that you were doing everything on your own, just kind of posting and wearing a bunch of different hats. So I think you were getting at kind of like building a team is essential, So maybe like a better question would be, how did you go about identifying the team that you wanted to build around you? Because this is key. Nonprofit or for profit and entrepreneurship, at some point you're going to need a team, right? So what was your process like with identifying what roles needed to be filled and then finding people to actually fill those roles to help also for
Yes.
athletes grow?
So with nonprofits, you have a board of directors. So my strategic plan with finding board members is I wanted to find someone who was been in the financial industry for several, for 20, 30 years. So I was able to find a guy at LPL Financial. I wanted to find someone that worked with student athletes. So I found Sherry Acho, who used to work with University of Michigan's athletic department. And then Danielle Berman, just what she's doing with Tackle What's Next. She's connected with a lot of people, and she's going to help with fundraising. So kind of lean on those individuals who, have had businesses, who are older than me, to kind of help mentor me and help guide the business. And then once I had a board, then I needed to obviously, because how nonprofits are structured, you got your board of directors, and usually a board member serves on a committee. So we have finance committee, marketing committee, mental health committee, and fundraising committee. So I needed to find, directors for my team to essentially oversee those committees. So like I said, I wasn't the one overseeing all that stuff. So I found my executive team, and then underneath those individuals, I found coordinators, or essentially managers, and then we have interns. So what really got me going in regards to reaching out and networking with more people is really the pandemic. I saw this really as a window of opportunity. And you mentioned Nipsey Hussle. One of his 10 rules of success is seizing opportunities. I knew the coronavirus was going to be unfortunate, for a lot of people. So I was accepted that as quickly as I, possibly could. I didn't dwell on that. And like I said, I saw that as a window of opportunity. I knew people who didn't like technology were going to be more forced to it than ever before, people working from home. So I saw that was the perfect time to start networking with people. And that's how I came across you. I joined several LinkedIn groups that were student athlete related, and there's thousands and thousands of people in these groups, and I was literally, for 8, 10 hours a day, I was literally like adding, a person, every single, connecting with them, sending them a template, say, hey, my name is Marcus, this is what I'm doing. We got a couple opportunities you may be interested in. Sometimes they would hit me back, sometimes they wouldn't. But I mean, just to kind of show you the work and the dedication that I put in, I started with about 1,500 LinkedIn followers, and now I'm approaching 5,000. And that's where I've scaled my organization and my internal team all through that social media platform.
Wow. Wow, man. Hey, Marcus, thank you for sharing all that, man. Because once again, you dove into the work and the dedication that it took to actually get there. You saw the opportunity, you seized it. Um, as far as like building the team and everything, do you feel like your experience with football and just being around teams, do you think that that kind of helps you as you're starting to, well, not starting to, as you're building and growing and putting people into place? And do you feel like that has enhanced your ability to lead and organize teams?
Definitely. And just having other athletes on my team is just, makes things so much stronger, because, as athletes, we all have that goal, win a championship. So for us, we have that goal to, implement this, nationally, internationally. So, we know what we need to do, and just having individuals that ultimately support you and see through your vision, it just motivates me to just, keep going.
Mm, that's amazing, man. Yeah. And is your team primarily built? I guess I didn't know this. Is your team primarily built from athletes? Like people who are on your team are athletes right now?
Yes. So we have a couple, one professional women's basketball player, two. One's in Portugal, one's in Israel, but everyone else is a retired athlete. So right now we have an operational team of 25 people across 10 different states and 4 different countries.
Wow. That's impressive, man. That's huge.
Yeah,
That's
and
major.
and they're all volunteers, so shout out to them.
And you're still looking for interns, correct?
Yeah, we still have internship opportunities, because with internships, they're usually seasonal. So like we had a lot of people in the summer. They're taking a little bit of a hiatus, just getting reacclimated with school and things like that. So, if people are interested, we can always make room for opportunities for people, definitely.
Got it. Okay. Any particular? Because I know there's a lot of current and former athletes listening to this who, after hearing and doing some research on Austin for athletes, if they're looking to get experience, if they just want to be part of a growing team of other athletes, they might want to get in touch with you. So, is there any specific roles you're looking to fill, whether they're interns or just volunteer positions?
Yes, so we're looking for a curriculum intern, a public and media relations intern, um, and we're looking for people to help out with crisis, mental health crisis, as well as support groups. So most of our opportunities are more on our mental health committee. So we're really looking for current and former collegiate athletes who are studying or who are in the mental health field.
Got it. Okay, that's huge. And I just want to be clear for anybody listening that if you're getting into entrepreneurship, right, and this is something I had to learn along the way. You do not have to do. I know I've talked about being the lone wolf, but just to get experience, it's okay to join teams and be a part of a team, right? And like I'll use myself as an example. Thrive After Sports, which is my athlete transition coaching business. I was a solopreneur. I still, I'm building a team right now, but joining Self Publish in 30 Days, right? Which is shout out to Self Publish in 30 Days for even sponsoring this event. I had to learn to be able to integrate myself into a company to learn how to actually build and grow and scale a business, right? So if you're listening to this and the mission of Austin for Athletes is speaking to you, get in touch, figure out how you can get involved, because then you'll be around a team of people who's moving and growing in the right direction. And if you decide someday to kind of branch off and do your own thing, you'll already have that experience and those connections, and you'll have a huge network that you've built. And not only that, but you'll be able to see what it's like to actually grow and structure a team. Because at a certain point, if you're on a mission to have a broader impact, you're going to have to build a team. You can't do everything on your own. You heard Marcus talking about he was a social media guy, and he had to do this and this, but he understood very early that he was going to have to build. So props to you for doing that, man. And just everything that you're doing is major. Do you feel like, obviously there's been a shift in the conversation? I think that over the past, let's just say 2-3 years, the topic of athlete mental health has become has come into the spotlight a little bit more, which is huge. Obviously, you and I both know there's still a lot of work to be done. At the same time, man, where do you see? I guess I just want to wrap up with some advice for current and former athletes who may be suffering in silence. What would you say to those athletes?
Yeah, I would just say that, you're not alone. With mental illness, it usually tends to come in waves. You're going to have your highs and lows. And for me, it's like it really stems back to perspective. Um, when I was going through that dark time, I could have just continued to sit there and feel sorry for myself, but what was going to change about my circumstances? Nothing. So I needed to, have a positive mindset. And I told myself, Marcus, you know, times are tough right now, but it's not going to get worse than this. Like, you know, it's only up from here. So I just say this, you know, there's light always at the end of this end of the tunnel. You know, the feelings that you're feeling, you know, they're going to pass. Just know that there's individuals out there, you know, just like you, that want to help and, you know, support you. So, you know, come and find us at Alston for Athletes.
Yes, sir, man. Where can you talk about all the social media handles, and obviously the website is austinforathletes.com,
Dot
correct?
org. Dot
Dot
org.
org,
Yep.
excuse me. Okay, okay. And then what's
And
all the other social media?
yeah, so on Instagram, Alston for Athletes, as well. Same on LinkedIn. And then my personal Instagrams, MT Alston, and then on LinkedIn. Those are usually the two platforms that I'm most active on.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that, man. Thank you for coming on and sharing. Obviously, this event, Athletepreneur, is about the process and talking about former athletes who are now in entrepreneurship. But I didn't want to leave it out or not talk about mental health, right? And not have the message get across that you're sharing and you're spreading and providing resources for, that it's okay to reach out and ask for help. You know, a lot of people, not just athletes, are struggling right now. So thank you for acknowledging that and giving permission to let people know that you don't have to suffer alone. Thank you for all the work that you're doing with Alston for Athletes. And I'm looking forward to watching you continue to grow and just have an impact on people, man. So I appreciate you coming on and sharing.
Hey, appreciate you having me on the show, Taj. Much love, man.
All right, brother. Much love to you too. All right, everybody.